All right, let's dive into call center compliance today. It's a pretty important topic if you're running a call center, right? I mean, nobody wants to get hit with fines or lawsuits.
It's way more than just avoiding trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you've got a solid compliance setup, it shows your customers you respect them, You're playing by the rules. Builds trust.
Makes sense. And there's a lot of rules to keep track of. I mean, we've got articles, websites, even the YouTube video here, all about TCPA, GDPR, FDCPA, DNC. It's like alphabet soup. But before we get lost in the acronyms, what's the big deal with compliance in the real world? Why should our listeners care?
Well, think about it. Have you ever gotten those annoying calls that just won't stop, even when you've asked them to?
Ugh, yes. It drives me crazy.
That could be a TCPA violation, and companies get slapped with some pretty hefty fines for that.
So it's not just annoying, it's actually illegal in some cases.
Yep. And then there's the whole data privacy thing, feeling like companies know way too much about you.
Oh yeah, that's creepy.
GDPR comes in to make sure they're handling your data responsibly. It's like having a watchdog for your personal information.
I like that analogy, a watchdog for your data. But, okay, here's a mind-blowing thing I learned while prepping for this deep dive. Some people actually sue companies over TCPA violations like it's a full-time job. We'll get into that later. But it shows how serious this stuff is.
Oh, yeah, it's big business, which is why building a culture of compliance in your call center is absolutely crucial. Like, we've got this article here, How to Build a Culture of Compliance in Your Call Center. It's a goldmine of practical advice.
Okay, so how do we create this compliance utopia? Where do we even begin?
Well, it all starts at the top, Leadership commitment is key. If the executives don't prioritize compliance, nobody else will.
So it's got to be more than just lip service. They actually have to walk the walk.
Absolutely. And that means investing in training for agents, setting clear policies, really creating a culture where ethical decision-making is valued.
Got it. Because even if agents have good intentions, they need to know the rules of the game, right? Right. What kind of training are we talking about here? Not just some boring PowerPoint, I hope.
No way. This article talks about interactive training methods like role-playing, real-life case studies, really getting them engaged.
Kind of like a flight simulator, but for call center agents.
Exactly. Prepping them for any situation they might encounter.
I love that. Giving them the tools and practice they need to handle compliance challenges in real time. But even with great training, technology can play a huge role too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Call recording, CRM systems, even AI-powered compliance alerts can be total game changers. You can automate a lot of processes, which reduces human error. Plus, it makes it easier to monitor everything and make sure you're actually staying compliant.
So it's like having a safety net, catching those little slip-ups before they turn into big, expensive problems.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But even with all the fancy tech in the world, you still need open communication. Like, everyone in the call center needs to feel comfortable speaking up if they see something that might be a compliance issue.
No fear of retaliation, right?
Right. It's about creating this environment of transparency where everyone feels invested in doing the right thing.
So it's not just about avoiding those fines. It's about fostering a sense of responsibility throughout the whole organization.
Exactly.
And to make sure everything's actually running smoothly, you need those regular compliance audits, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like a checkup for your call center's compliance health. Helps you spot any gaps in your practices so you can adjust your strategy and stay ahead of potential issues.
Makes sense. So we're talking leadership, training, tech, communication, and regular checkups. That sounds like a pretty solid recipe for success.
It is. And the best part, it benefits everyone. You build stronger relationships with your customers, your brand looks good, and your business is more successful in the long run.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the overall culture, but let's focus on the front lines. The call center agents. They're the ones interacting with customers every day, so their training is super important.
No doubt about it. They're your brand ambassadors. And that's where this other article comes in, How to Train Your Agents on Call Center Compliance. It dives deep into preparing them for all those regulations we mentioned earlier, the TCPA and all that.
Okay, back to the alphabet soup. But this time, let's make it real. What's a real-world example of how the TCPA could come into play?
Let's say a customer specifically tells your agent, hey, please don't call me with marketing offers anymore. But the agent keeps calling anyway because they're desperate to hit their sales quota.
Oof, that's not good.
Not at all. That's a clear TCPA violation, and it could lead to a big fine for the company.
And honestly, it just makes the company look bad.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do business with a company that doesn't respect their wishes.
Exactly. And then there's GDPR, all about data privacy. Let's say a company